What's up, everybody, and welcome to Prayers in Progress, a space where we talk about life as a Christian and life in ministry. We want to help you navigate through that. I'm your host, Pastor Rockette, and today I have with me an outstanding man of God. He's doing great things for the kingdom. He's doing great things for God's people. He is the youth pastor of First Assembly of God. Y'all help me welcome Mr. Cory Williams. What's up with you, bro?
My brother, man, bro, I never forget the first time we encountered, man. I said, God, it's a kindred spirit right here, man. This ain't even the end of it.
For sure, man.
Let's go.
It was a great experience then. And you know what's funny,
Yes,
man,
sir.
is as I was going through my emails and I was sending you the information,
Yeah,
I thought I found the email that we were going back and forth on in regards to when you came to True Divine and you did
yeah,
the presentation for me, man. So
yeah.
it was some dope stuff that you had included.
Come
So I'm
on,
like,
man.
and I'm looking forward to this one right here.
Same team, brother. Same team. Kingdom business.
Yes, sir, all the time, man.
Yeah.
So today, man, we're gonna be talking about something that I haven't heard a lot of people talk about, but I think it's a very important topic. We're gonna talk
Hmm.
today about the importance of youth ministry.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
our children, every day we're seeing things on TV, social media, where our children are just being sucked up by this world. And
Hmm.
I think a lot of people don't realize how important it is to get your children in church for one, but then number two,
Yeah.
get them in a youth ministry. And so we're gonna just elaborate on that a little bit today and let the people know, hey, this is why you need to get your child in some type of youth ministry. And so
Yes, absolutely.
yeah, so without further ado, we'll hop right into it, man. How about you just
Yeah.
kind of walk us through your journey in regards to youth ministry? So how long have you been serving in youth ministry?
Bro, I answer this question with such joy now because those first few years, bro, like, man, it's a ministry in general, it's a whirlwind, Rocket. And so I'm just like, God, how in the world did these people make it 5, 6, 7, 8 years, right? So June 5th this year, just a month ago, we've now been serving full-time youth ministers 9 years, bro.
Wow.
So yeah, 9 years. And so I look back at that moment when it first started with such joy because like I'm able to say, wow, we lasted. Like and we don't think this is the end, but I'm just saying we've made it to this point. And so my wife and I, even before we were married, here at our church, we've served in leadership in vast ways of helping with small groups, whether it happened with worship. So before we officially were youth pastors, we still, serve in youth ministry, just in a different capacity. So I mean, you could tack on a few years there, to say it could totally, it could be 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 years, just from being a part of the student ministry. But I say nine total just because of career wise and stepping into it full time as a paid position, but also having a whole lot more responsibility that comes with that authority. But here's one of the cool things I look back at over these 9 years, bro, is I told the Lord, and before we realized how far the Lord was going to send us through youth ministry, we didn't think it would even be this long. But I told the Lord, I know how hard ministry can be just from the outside looking in. If you're going to want us to do this, you're going to have to give us the energy to sustain. You're going to have to give us a lasting ability. And if I do this, Lord, one of my personal goals would be I want to see a student from 6th grade to 12th grade. Like I want to be able to say that student's only youth pastor was us. Not because we had like pride or this, big thing about us, but I wanted a student to be able to say, I could count on Pastor Corey because he's the one that I know. I could count on Miss Laura because that's who I know. My wife grew up and she had about 3 or 4 different youth pastors through her time in youth ministry, 6th to 12th grade. And so my heart was, man, Lord, I ain't trying to see that. I don't want to lose the confidence in a student or their parents if they don't think people could sustain, the ministry. So last year, not this graduating class, but last graduating class in 25 was the first time we saw two students from 6th grade to 12th grade. And now this year, we've seen like 4 or 5 more. And so now we're starting to see that routine of, man, we're the only youth pastors that they know, bro. And so their parents have such confidence in us that, um, y'all are it. So I take pride in that, man. A lot of joy. 9 years is a the longevity speaks for itself, bro.
Definitely. And I think you should take pride in that, man, because let's just
Yeah,
be honest. A lot of people look at youth ministry as just a pit stop on their way to something else.
that's it.
Most pastors that you run into, they started in youth ministry. I mean, I started in youth ministry.
Yeah,
Um, and for a lot of pastors, it's, hey, this is just a stop for me on my way to being a senior pastor.
yeah,
So for you to be there 9 years and for you to have that commitment, because that takes a level of commitment, and for you to say, "Hey, Lord, this is what I want to do," I think that's that.
yeah,
I mean, I think that's amazing.
yeah.
Seeing them from sixth grade to 12th grade, bro, that's huge.
Bro, you talk about a whole whirlwind of emotions, life
Yeah.
changes. I mean, it's been well worth it for sure, bro.
Yeah. And what people don't realize is with youth ministry, man, and this is what with any ministry, but with youth ministry, it takes a special kind of grace that you must have
Man,
on your life
come
because
on.
it's bigger than just showing up on Sundays and Wednesdays or Thursdays whenever you have your youth
Yeah.
ministry meetings. You got to deal with like real life issues with these kids
Yeah.
because this
Hmm.
generation of kids, they're going through things that my generation didn't go through. Or if we did go
Hmm.
through it, it wasn't as bad as this. But
Yep.
they have a cell phone now, and this cell phone allows them to see everything that's in the world. And I can remember when I was a youth pastor, I had this one particular student who, man, she would just randomly text me, "Hey, Pastor Rockette, got a Bible question for you." And she'll ask me a
Hmm.
question, and I'm like, "Shoo, okay, let me let me do some research on that one, right?"
Yes,
Before I
sir.
respond. So I used to laugh, I used to joke with her dad and be like, "Hey, man, she keep me in my Bible because
Come on, man.
they got questions, man. We got to be able to
Bro.
answer those questions. But not only that, they got real life stuff that they deal with that they don't
Yeah.
even trust their parents with this information.
Yeah. That's
You know,
exactly it, bro.
and I'm sure you doing it 9 years, I'm
Yeah.
sure, man, you've heard all kinds of stories.
Well,
Um,
here's the funny part about that too. We're starting to see the flip side of that as youth pastors now. So I always say, and we'll get into this later with like parents and leaders and stuff in youth ministry. But I think it's so funny how when we were youth leaders, man, the kids were telling us everything. Like, hey, I trust you as one of my small group leaders with this information to pray about, but don't tell like Pastor so and so, right? Because I want to keep it here with you. And I'm like, now that we're youth pastors, I'm like, man, they're not really coming to us telling us what's going on right now, but I'm hearing it from the leaders. And so I'm like, am I that old now? Have I lost like my cool factor, bro? Have I lost my swag? That these kids don't. But it's that authority that they see, and but also they trust those small group leaders that they have invested in their life. So, and we'll get into that some, I think, too. But I just think that's really cool, man. How we're starting to see that side of it, and man, 9 years is a long time, but you're right. It takes a lot of grace to get through it, and the Lord supplies it, no doubt.
yeah, that's one thing I love about the Lord. He'll never call you to something if he
Yeah,
doesn't have the grace in place for you to get through it. And
come
so,
on, man.
yeah, that's the beautiful thing about it, man.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
so we kind of tackled this already, but you
Yeah.
being the 9 year professional in this area, I want to ask you this: why is youth ministry important in today's world?
Man, dude, I love this question. It's so simple, bro, but I love this, man. I heard a police officer say once I think he was addressing something in the community on like a public address over the TV or whatever on the news, but he was talking about the community, talking about young people, just the
Mm-hmm.
town, and he said young people are 50% of our population, but they're 100% of our future. Bro, and
Mm,
I was like, good grief. If that ain't a fire quote, I'm like, wow, they're half of the population. We're made up of, different ages of people, but man, they are guaranteed. They're certain to be a part of the future, right? Tomorrow. And so, like, if that could be said from a general perspective, just talking about out in the community, out in the world, like how much more can we take away from that spiritually? You know what I
right.
mean? Like for young people to just be 50% of the population, but 100% of the future. I say like for me, I have to think, or even just with other ministers, youth pastor friends, people on our team, like how do we create a world where if our future depends on the young people today, Like if the future of Montgomery, I'll just say that depends on the young people today, right? How do we build up like those kind of the leaders, the mothers, the fathers, the citizens, right? Just to be as general as possible. How do we build up those kind of citizens that can effectively lead, that can effectively contribute to society? And so when I think of the importance, I'm like, man, if they're 100% a part of our future, we've got to invest now. Like this is the important thing. What we're doing right now in youth ministry, like you said, some people see it as a stepping stone, but I've heard a friend say, children's pastors, youth pastors, young adults pastors, like you're still a pastor, right? Like, however, we perceive that being, oh, this is the ranking or this is, no, bro. If you've got a congregation, a flock under your shepherding, like you're a pastor, you're going to see warfare just as much as they do. And so when I think about why is it so important today, bro? This is a letter I wanted to read, man. I had to go back and find this. That's what I was asking you about. So one of our students, man, he's another one, just graduated this year. And he's one that we've seen from sixth grade. And so I take pride in this student as well. And I've seen him grow into a great family, seen him follow the Lord. I've seen him fall. I've seen him, I won't say return to God because it's not like he's ever left him, but I've seen him get a taste of the world. But I've seen that prodigal, where he runs back to the Father. God, I'm sorry about the things I've done. But listen to this letter he sent me, bro. This is probably a few days before he graduated. Man, you talking about balling. You talking about looking at 9 years saying, God, thank you for the endurance. Listen to this right here. Dear Pastor Cory, I just want to take a moment to thank you for the impact you've had on my life. When we were first asked with writing a letter to people that had the greatest impact on our lives, you were one of the first people I thought of. This letter can't even do justice for all the times and blessings you have poured into my life. I remember really meeting you for the first time in eighth grade for my first youth event. Riding on that small bus gave me a chance to really get to know you, and it didn't take long for me to realize where your heart was in youth ministry. The way you treated people with genuine care and respect stuck with me. You made everyone feel seen and valued, and that's something I try to do throughout my life. Over time, you became someone I truly look up to. You not only taught us about God and the Bible, you lived it out in a way that made it real. Watching how you carry yourself has better taught me what it means to be a godly man. I'm grateful for the time and opportunities I have with you, whether it's the simple things like helping you at church, or the more fun things like playing Madden or 2K at your house with the guys or taking trips, that almost felt chaotic, but ended up giving me some of the greatest memories and bonds with people that will probably never break. Through it all, it's taught me to have a strong work ethic, take responsibility, and serve others, without caring about recognition. More than anything, thank you for being there for me, not only as a pastor, but as someone who has led me to be a better version of myself. Your encouragement has pushed me to grow, stay focused, and step outside my comfort zone. Sincerely, bro.
Bro.
Said, Lord, that's what it's about right there. If this was the only letter that we ever got saying thank you, and we don't have to have thank yous, but that affirmation helps. So,
Yeah.
but to read that, I thought, wow, that's 9 years right there. That's what youth ministry's importance is about for me.
That is, bro. That's a beautiful letter. Yeah, I probably would have been
Come on,
crying
man.
like a baby, man. I
Bro, I
probably
sent
would
it to
have
all my mentors. I was like, y'all, man, y'all's prayers been, hey, I'm thugging it out, bro. It finally worked.
been for real, man. But you said something that I want to address that I think is
Yeah,
very important. When you was like, it doesn't matter what level of ministry you're serving on. If you have a flock, you're a pastor, right?
come on.
And we know what comes with that. We know the steps you have to take in those things.
Yeah,
Um, but I wanted to add to that and say your role is probably one of the most important roles in this body of work because you
yep,
get the opportunity to sow the seed while they're young. A lot of times, senior pastors who may have never served in youth ministry or whatever, you got to
yeah,
go back and undo everything. You dealing with a 45-year-old man, and you got to
yeah,
do everything, undo everything that he experienced prior to you.
yeah,
But you having that role, like you get to kind of catch them up front
Yeah.
before they start committing the crimes, before they start getting
Yeah.
exposed to all this stuff. And even while they're being exposed to it, you get the opportunity to be that angel on the right shoulder saying, hey,
Yeah.
don't do that. Right.
Yeah.
So I think your role, man, is if it's not the most important role, it got to
Hmm.
be in top three
Yeah, for sure, bro.
because it's that important, man, because we know how the enemy is. Like he's gonna try to attack them while they're young, while they're babies in the spirit, and that could set the tone for their entire lives. So
Yeah.
your role is very important, man. So 9 years,
And man.
man, I know we keep talking about it 9 years, but it's
Yeah.
important. Like it's important
Yeah.
because, and I'll say this and then I'll move on. I remember when I first got offered the position of being a youth pastor at my former church,
Okay.
and he gave me my pastor gave me like this book that a youth pastor had written, and he was just talking about the importance of youth ministry and what to expect and things of that nature. And the guy mentioned how a lot of people look at youth ministry as a stepping stone. But then
Yeah.
he said that that's all he ever wanted to be. He didn't want to be anything else as far as serving in the
Oh
ministry. He
wow.
just wanted to be a youth pastor. And this guy had been serving in youth ministry like 20 plus years at this point. And I can remember reading it and thinking like, how do you serve in youth ministry that long as the youth
Ooh.
pastor?
Yes, bro.
Like, because like, let's be honest, if you started at 20, you like 40 now.
Yes.
And then
Goodness.
if you do 20 more years, you're gonna be 60. So how can you serve as the youth pastor, like as a 60 year
Yeah.
old man? I don't know how old he was, but reading that and hearing your story, I'm like, some people that's what God calls you to do. So it doesn't matter
Yeah.
how old you are, like if
Yeah.
it's the grace God put on your life, like you'll be able to do it. So again, commend you. I commend you and your wife for serving
Yes,
as long
sir.
as you guys have, man. Um, and then this question is something that I wanted to ask you. I think is very important.
Hmm.
Um, so when I was in youth ministry as a youth pastor, I can remember one day I asked the children, I was like, hey, are you coming to church because you want to be here, or are you coming
Mm.
to church because your parents are forcing you to? And a lot of them said, hey, I come because my parents forced me. And I think by that point, it was a lot of them were like actually enjoying coming to church. So
Yeah.
this question may have been like before, like, why were you coming to church? It may have been something like that. But anyway, they were saying like, I only was coming because my parents were forcing me to.
Yeah.
So it kind of caught me by surprise because I assumed that these children had a relationship with God. Because when I
Mm.
asked them about Jesus and like, hey, you got a relationship with Christ? Do you know Christ? And they was like, not really. Right? It was like, I just
Hmm.
know what my parents told me. And I only was
Yeah.
coming to church because my parents forced me to. So here's my question. How does youth ministry help young people develop a stronger relationship with God?
Man, I love that you even said that too, bro, and being open because I think we do that in big church too. With that's that's a youth pastor right there for you, big church. When you identify regular church as big church, but but we do it up in big church too, bro. We just assume when people come down for prayer or anything, like we already assume, like I'm just gonna pray for them. Sometimes we don't even add. Like I've started training our leaders. I don't want to say training. I'm just advising them because they're equipped. But like you talk to these students, ask them why are you down here? Like what do you need me to pray for you about? Because sometimes people just want you to pray and you're just gonna pray over them. They don't really want to address anything. So that's how we find out, like you're saying these students say, man, I don't even have a relationship with God. I'm over here praying for deliverance over your life, and you don't even know him. No wonder you ain't free, bro, because you ain't living for him. So,
Right.
but growing, listen, so this is so cool, man, because well, for me, I'll say 6th to 12th grade, but even any age, I would say up to 18, you could even say 21, because boys mature a little later. But from anything up to 18, like those are the formative years of a person's life. And so like they're impressionable. Anything like right now, think about it. Like we don't teach a kid how to walk when they're 15. Like we're gonna teach them as soon as we can, right? To where they can understand it and they're impressionable. You do it in the years where they're craving knowledge. And so we're in this information age as well, where everything is, information overload. But these are the formative years of a student. And so what we teach them now, most likely those things retain. Scripture tells us too, right? Train up a child in the way
Yeah.
they should go, right?
Yeah.
Scripture knows if you do it now as a child, right? Those are the years that they're formed, that they're being formed. So if you're going to teach somebody anything, right, the best time is when they're young. And
Yeah.
so growing and developing a relationship with God, youth ministry, I think, is a win because it speaks their language, right?
Mm.
If we're doing it right, right? We're aware of the understanding of what a teenager's seeking and how to cultivate an environment. Like here, I'm sitting in our cafe right now, right? I'll think about, man, you know what? Like maybe a year ago, we just changed these bulbs from like this incandescent yellow hue. And I'm like, man, we got to get some white LEDs in here. Like even just the popping of the light in this cafe now, like it's just going to create an environment that students are familiar with, like when they go to places. So creating a or developing a strong relationship with God, again, putting them in a place that they're going to relate to.
Mm.
I think developing leaders who are biblically sound, uh, creating avenues where students aren't overwhelmed with so much. So we do this thing, we call it family time, and it's just our small group setting. We have all like we'll have two of our leaders in the group. So like my wife and one of our adult leaders leads the sixth and seventh grade girls. And so for instance, then they got this eighth and ninth grade girls. Maybe the 10th grade girl group is larger this year. So that's just 10th grade. And the same with the guys. Sometimes it shifts based on the numbers of the group. And so we try to equip our leaders with, hey, this is your congregation in this moment. Like you keep up with these kids right here. These 9 kids that are in your small group, you keep up with them over the weekend. You keep up with them throughout the week. You create a group chat, and that's your responsibility because it's easier for us now to connect with maybe 10 to 15 leaders as opposed to 50 to 60 students. So you guys help us with that. So now we're trying to build biblically sound leaders to create and cultivate this environment to be biblically sound, to be youth oriented, like TVs, video games. We're trying to do that. And all those things are drawing them in. But the important thing spiritually is, uh, for one, creating the environment, bro, where the Bible is the source of everything, right? We went through this series. I know I'm all over right now, but we went through not a series, but last year, every year we try to set a mental focus on where we're going through the year. Last year, our focus was simply the altar. Like that's just what it was. Everything we did, we wanted to surround it with the altar. Like here, for example, I told our students, "Hey guys, here's where we're going." So wherever there's conflict in the youth group this year, like build an altar, like you build that altar and mend that, right? Wherever there's joy or celebration, right? If we're raising money for missions and we hit these incredible goals, we're going to build an altar and celebrate, right? And we're going to rejoice. And
Yeah.
so things like that to me, where you could have fun in youth ministry, but you can't have wins biblically and helping students grow spiritually if the word of God isn't like embedded in everything you do. So when we celebrate and we have a good time with confetti, they know I love confetti, or sparklers or something. It's within the context of something we're celebrating that's biblically led. Like we'll raise a ton of money for missions, right? Sending missionaries across the world to preach the gospel. Say we raise 10, $20,000 as a church, bro, we're gonna shoot off some confetti today, right? And so we're gonna have a good time with the kids. But being biblically sound, preaching the word, not being conformed to the things that students see today that says you could be a Christian and still like partner with the world. That's not even biblical, bro, right? Jesus said, like, don't be of the world. We're in it, right? We're in
Yeah.
it, but we're not of it. And so we try to keep the Bible first, the Bible as the root, the Bible as the end all be all. Scripture says it's our sword, right? And so we're going to use it to tear down walls, to tear down strongholds. And so for us, just youth ministry in general, I feel like growing spiritually, it's more than just a one answer of this is what you do. It's time, it's invested time for sure. It's connecting with parents, and we might get into that too, but it's connecting with parents, it's building a strong foundations that families could pick up from and move forward with. So, but I do think just creating an environment for one that students walk into and they feel like, man, this is a cool place I could be a part of. But don't substitute cool, don't
Yeah.
substitute the Bible for cool, is what I'm saying, or anything spiritual. So I don't know if that really answered it enough, though.
No, I mean, hey, it's one of those questions where it's like it's a broad question, right? Like the
Yeah,
answer, like you said, there's not just like one answer you can get to that. So that's
yeah.
cool. I appreciate you sharing that. Now, this question, this one is probably kind of similar to that one in regards to there's not like one answer.
All right, yeah.
So you've been doing this 9 years. My question for you now is, what are some of the biggest challenges that the youth are facing today, and how can the
Oh, yeah.
church respond?
Oh, that's good. Okay, okay. Um, oh, identity.
Mm,
I would say identity and period. Now I'm gonna expound upon that. But if there was just a one word that would solve that would answer that and everybody would understand it, no
yeah,
doubt identity, bro. We're in a world, man, or even a time where comparison is literally, what do they say, the thief of joy?
right.
um, it really is. And so social media is an incredible tool. I think it's helped advance our world, the infrastructure of our world, with business, networking. So much of that is happening because of social media and just communicating, connecting. Our students know, my friends know, man, I love technology. I love like moving forward. I love the idea of just the future, like what's next, like how do we keep dreaming? And social media is a great tool that I think has advanced a lot of what we do today. But man, when you see it used in the hands of the enemy, bro,
Yeah.
like identity is no doubt the problem that we see. I wouldn't say it's one of them, but it's like you say, it's top three up there. And it may not be two and three, but identity is a big issue because so many students now through the outlets of social media, they're instantly looking at what they don't have,
Yeah.
right? And so then they carry on that identity the rest of those days, maybe even just a week. Man, so and so just got a new house, right? Man, they must be doing pretty good. And we've been living here, 12 years, and we're struggling to keep the AC running, just simple things like that. Or even more specific, uh, just the whole clout chase, right? So and so
Yeah.
got the J's. They got
Yeah.
every pair of J's that came out the holiday, right? So and so got a car at 16. I didn't get no car when I was 16, bro. I had to pay for my own car when I was like 20 something. And so social media now creates that outlet or
Yeah.
avenue where you really start to see the world in a way where it's comparison or you're comparing. And so identity is one of those issues where I say students are trapped in it and so much I think this is what, and I won't say this is an epidemic because I don't want to give the enemy a foothold with that, but we see this wave of depression like crazy. And I think the way students are feeling and have attached certain things to their identity, well, I guess that's who I am. I guess that's what I am. Then that settles into a season or a moment, gosh, or a lifestyle of depression. And so we start to see everybody's issue. That's some of the things we see at the altar, bro. When I'm like, hey, we're not just going to pray for them, y'all. We're going to ask them, what can we pray for? But there's a lot of those answers. I'm just depressed right now. And so I'm like, no, you're not depressed. You've attached that to your name, right? You've attached that to who you are. Scripture says we were created in the image of God, right? In the image of God, He created them, male and female. And so the image of God, right? If that's us, if the image of God is I don't want to say perfect, it is, but in our sense, because sin, obviously the fall made us imperfect. And so Christ had to redeem us from the curse of the law, scripture says by becoming a curse for us. And so,
Oh,
but I
come
think
on, preacher.
in the come on, bro, in the image of God, though, I think of there's wholeness, there's fullness. And so if that's God's image, that's who we are. Like, so we attach these things to us that aren't even necessary, things that um don't even apply. I like this take right here. So scripture says when Adam came to life, God breathed the breath of life into him, right? And so because Adam's body now contains that breath of God, right? So God's breath creates life. And so
Yeah.
when God speaks, right, he says, let there be light. Boom, there's the power in that right there. So it happens when God says, or Jesus, for instance, God the Son, Lazarus come forth, that same breath of God brought Lazarus out. And so I tell our students, guys, you understand the power of and the life and death and the power of the tongue. So when you speak and say, "Man, I'm just having a terrible day today. My life sucks." it most likely will be that because you just literally spoke life into that because the breath of God was it's within us. And so when we speak those things, man, I'm full of depression. I want to hurt myself. I want to commit this. I want to do that. I want to harm my body. Like now you're feeding those emotions and you're giving life to it. So I try to encourage our students, guys, or even our church, hey, we've got to begin to speak life over this generation of people, bro. We've got to begin to uh, we've got to show them the way by leading. Some of this stuff they pick up because they've seen it before them, right? And so some children pick up things that they see in their house, and that's just who they are. But again, this whole depression mindset and this identity mis misleading, I think students are taking it on because for one, they don't realize the power within their own tongue, and they're speaking life into things that shouldn't even be in existence. And so I think the church is doing a good job, but again, we could always challenge the church to do better, to do more. Like you said, this isn't like no stepping stone, bro. When we think of youth ministry, we're here, we're all across the board together. I think it starts with the church identifying that it's not the stepping stone. Oh, those are just the young people. But the same way 50% of the population, they're 100% of the next church, right? This church, those young people are the 100% of the future. So y'all got to
That's
invest in them now because they're going to be
that's
your
it.
tithers, 20
That's
years from
it.
now.
Yeah.
They're gonna be your deacons, they're gonna be your trustees, bro. So an identity crisis going wild in our young people today, man. I think our adults have to do an even better job because I don't want to misalign that, but an even better job of identifying, man, they are the future. And as much as we invest in them now, we'll get the return on investment afterwards, years from now, when they're serving in leadership in the church. So
Bro, that is so outstanding. And so, if I'm hearing you correctly,
mhm,
all churches across America, across the world, we should be investing in our youth
got to.
because, like you said, they are the future of the church. And without them, the church dies. That's just what it
Hmm.
is. And that's why you see a lot of churches in local communities, they die out because they never invested in the youth. And so when those youth when they become young adults and they go to college, they move away and they don't come back
Yep.
to the home church. A lot of
Hmm.
parents pick their churches based on whether or not that church has a youth ministry.
Yeah.
And so this is for all the churches in the world. If you want your church to grow and you want your church to continue to thrive, you have to invest in youth ministry. Like
Yeah.
it can't be just like what you said. It can't just be, oh, are just the kids. No, those kids are the future of this world. They're the future of the
Yeah.
church. They're the future of the kingdom, right? But something
Bro,
else
let me tag on to that real quick, if you
yeah,
don't mind. So when I first got saved, bro, I was 14 years old. 15 was when I was filled with the baptism of the Holy Spirit. So I spent a summer with my grandma. Um, just some things were going on at home. I thank the Lord, bro. That it's so cool how, like Scripture says, right? In his heart, a man plans his course, but the Lord determines his steps. And so it's cool how I didn't even realize in those formative years, again, how the Holy Spirit was like moving me without realize. Wasn't even living for the Lord, but God's plan, like it was gonna go forth. And
yeah.
so I remember taking that summer off from home, and I was like, man, I'm just gonna go live with Granny. I just want to get out of here. Things are chaotic right now. And Granny said, hey, if you're gonna spend the summer with me, we going to church. And so I was like, oh man, I know how that's gonna play out. And so Granny started discipling me, pouring into me, investing in me. And I'll never forget this, bro. We that whole summer, we probably went to like a total of like 12 or 13 different churches because Granny was ready to find a youth group for me. And I didn't realize the importance of it at the time. But every time I tell people this, I'm like, bro, my grandma was willing to sacrifice where she was comfortable, the church she was growing and loving and being disciple and serving. She was willing to move from that entity to find a place where I could grow because the student ministry wasn't available there. And so she was willing to sacrifice what she knew and was comfortable with for Corey to find a youth group to grow, to be discipled, to minister. And we came here to First Assembly, and I'll never forget that Sunday. And Granny said, "I remember this church years ago. I visited a couple of times, but I feel like they still have a strong youth ministry. And things changed over the years, but um, when we stepped in, bro, I saw young people raising their hands, singing the songs. I was like, what? Like these people really love God. And so anyway, when you say that, like all across the world, finding a youth ministry, if you want your church to grow, they are the future, bro. So I thank God, man, for the sacrifice my granny made for me to find a youth group, and I had no clue how important that was gonna be for me.
Man, just hearing that story, it's just amazing how strategic God is.
Come on.
Like,
And here I am at that same church, bro. Now youth pastor. What?
exactly, exactly, right? It kind of reminds me of the story of Joseph, where we know where
Come
Joseph
on.
ultimately is supposed to end up in Egypt and be second in command, but God never told him how he was going to get there.
Ooh.
And same thing with you, right? This is God's plan for you the whole time, but he never told you how you were going to get there. Like you went to
Mhm.
Granny running away
Yeah.
from problems,
Come on.
didn't even know that you were actually walking into destiny. And it's just amazing, man,
Ah, bro. Come on.
how strategic and intentional
Mm.
God is, man.
Yes, bro.
It's just so amazing, man. That's a power, bro.
Oh, come on.
If you listen, please share that story with as
Yes,
many
sir.
people as you can, because that just blessed me, man. That
Come
really
on,
blessed
man.
me, bro.
Amen.
So let me come up out of that. So going back to something else that I want to talk about too with this identity thing.
Yeah.
So in my my 9 to 5, I say that.
Yeah,
My
yeah,
nine
yeah.
to five, I'm a financial coach.
Let's go.
And one of the things that I see a lot is parents creating or setting their children up for failure. And when I say setting
Mm.
them up for failure, it's like I gotta buy them J's. They
Yep.
gotta wear name brand this. They gotta have this. They gotta have that. And so I'm like, okay, you know, and no disrespect to J's.
Yeah.
Like if that's what
Yeah.
you want to buy, fine. But don't make your children feel like they gotta have them, right?
Yep.
Like there are plenty of other shoes out here that are good.
Hmm.
And I was talking to one parent one time, and I was like, okay, because what this particular parent was doing was this person would buy like the J's would be like their school shoes or like their main shoes. But then this parent would also buy what they call in between shoes,
Yeah.
meaning
Yep.
hey, until I can get you a new pair of J's, I'm gonna
Yep.
buy you these shoes, and you can dog these out, right?
Boy, yep. Them the ones at PE.
So I was like those in between shoes because these like Nikes and stuff like that. Good shoes.
Yeah.
Like you can buy like two or three pair of them
Oh
for
man.
one pair of J's, and that can
Yep.
help save you some money. But what they do is, man, they make our children feel like you gotta have J's and you gotta have this, you gotta have, and it creates this identity crisis where because here's the thing, we know that God is the source.
Hmm.
So if my identity lies into resources, then what happens when no resources are stripped away? Like what
Man.
happens if your child grow to be an adult and he or she can't afford to buy J's? Then
Hmm.
like they're gonna feel less
Yeah.
of a person because that you're not teaching them, and this is not, fussing at parents or anything, but if you're not teaching them that, hey, you are more valuable than a pair of shoes, or you are more
Ooh.
valuable than a brand, and
Yes,
the
that's it,
only
bro.
brand that you should be concerned about is the brand of Jesus. Like that's the
Come
only
on.
brand, the brand of
Yeah.
Christian, the brand of disciple. Like that's the only
Yes.
brand you should find your identity in.
Hmm.
And if you find your identity in that, then all this other stuff, it's not as important as you think it is. So
Amen.
I can see why identity. And the last thing I'll say about it is this. I seen a Facebook post the other day that talked about this man who had made this outstanding discovery, and he broadcasted on Facebook. And Big Brother is always watching, and so it was saving money, but it was taking money out of the government's
Yep.
pocket. So eventually he went to court, and they took him to court and sued him, and like he lost, and he was forced to destroy all this invention. Here's the
Hmm.
thing. The thought that came to my mind was, had he not told anybody, he would have been
Man.
fine. We live in a world, going back to what you said about social media, we live in a world today where we got to say, hey, look at what I got.
That's it.
Look at what I found. When not saying that you shouldn't share at all, but you don't have to share everything. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of times we get so caught up in saying, hey, I gotta let people know I got a new house. I gotta let people know I got a new car. I gotta show my money.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
gotta
That's
like,
it.
and then when something happens, it's like, well, and I'm not saying that you don't have a right to share that stuff because it's
Yeah.
your right.
That's it.
But imagine how much trouble can be avoided if we are just a little bit private and a
Yeah.
little bit more private and we don't find our identity in resources.
Man, that's good.
So yeah, man. So but
Mm.
love your story, man. I love it. So this is something I battled with when I
Okay.
was in youth ministry, towards the end of my tenure.
Okay.
How can churches make youth ministry more engaging and relevant to young people? Because I was struggling.
Mm. No, that's good, man. Let me think this one through. So I think knowing the language, and I don't mean like how they talk, but the language of youth people, young people, knowing their world. I'll say right now, like we're talking about social media. Social media is one of those things that's their language, right? They're always on it.
Mhm.
There's so many platforms today. You can't even keep up with them. Like us adults, we'll be on them, and I'm like, man, I thought they were still on this, and there's like two more that's been
Let,
created.
let me ask you this real quick, bro, because
Yeah,
you just said something that stood out to me. I remember my daughters, they were like, well, my middle daughters, they didn't exchange like phone numbers with people. They exchanged
yeah,
like Instagram. Is that like still
that's
a
it.
thing? Like, let me get your
It is,
IG.
bro. Yeah, bro. And I'm like, you understand, like for me, if I'm trying to get somebody, like, man, she looks good, bro. I want to talk to her. Like, I'm trying to get her phone number, like, cause I know
Right.
that's the direct connection. But it's weird, bro. It's like DMing is they feel that that's so valuable. I'm like, bro, what if they don't have Wi-Fi? What if they don't have no? You can't even get them. I'm like, bro, you ain't never gonna go without a cell service. So I don't know if it's just these that brain rot getting to them, but they love that, bro. They love. Let me get your IG. Let me get Snapchat. Let me get your TikTok. I'm like, that is weird, bro. So, but it's a new world, man. But yeah, knowing the language, knowing the culture of how things are shaped. So I think a church being aware of that. I'll say a couple of things like social media, for instance. This is so cool. Like knowing how they go about their things. That's how we really shape believers in today's culture of young people. That's how we're gonna do it. We're gonna shape them through social media. So if we're gonna shape them through social media or through the things that they're connected with, why not implement those things in our elements of service or our
Yeah.
segments? And so what we do in our student ministry, we just started probably last year or maybe 2 years ago, really. So first is what we call like our Wednesday night service for students. First Assembly students, that's just who we are, the identity of who we are. First is the event that happens on Wednesday night, like the youth service. And so we started this thing that's called First Live, right? So when we have like certain highlights, like Thanksgiving's coming up, well, we're probably not gonna have a youth service that week. So let's do First Live to give students an opportunity to technically be at first, but we're going live, right? Or if we got a special summer service happening at church, you know what? Let's do First Live to give them like an insight of what's happening. And so we'll do different segments from youth on First Live. Like we started giving I like to give ownership to students and trying to figure out what they can do. And so, like I'll say this for instance, I'm gonna be all over the place for a minute, but one girl, let's just say we see some potential in her, know that she has a strong relationship with the Lord, and she could have great conversations with people, but we can't get her to just do that on her own. It's like, man, you need to, when cafe opens up before you need to be out there talking to people, just kind of making them feel good, sharing your story, and just creating some good conversations. Unless we tell her, that's not gonna happen. And so we figured out, man, how do we create a show or a segment within our Wednesday night service that we could give this girl, and now it's like a 10-minute segment that we'll do probably once or twice a month. We called it Let's Talk. So we just throw
Mm.
couches on the stage and then we let this girl host Let's Talk. And so we've given her a list of questions that she can talk to with like three student guests on stage for 10 minutes, just an open service. So now she's got this identity of Let's Talk. Man, I own Let's Talk. I run this. So now I could start creating these questions. I could start creating conversations that I want to have with these students, but also the whole room's hearing it. And so that's one of the ways I'm thinking being more engaging, churches being more adapting to that. Okay, well, students are going to talk. How do we bring those elements into it to where they're going to relate? So First Live, for instance, right? We're going to do Let's Talk on First Live. So I want you to get the students you want to talk to with these questions. Let me know how these go. Here's some conversation starters if you want, but you can come up with your own. And so for me, they love when it goes online. You know, we did this thing. These aren't even things that we're creating, bro. Like I'll say we created just because it was something we started. We just call
Mhm.
this thing Devos. Literally, it's like a 2 minute video that we're putting on social media, and we're literally giving a student 2 minutes to share a devotion that they personally came up with. It was
Mhm.
great in 2020 when the world was shut down, bro. This is when it started. We
Mhm.
weren't meeting, so we got to get some students to start speaking true because they're tired of hearing us, right? So we need some students to
Right.
start sharing. And so again, it's been posted online. They're eating it up. Everybody, Pastor Corey, when can I do a Devo? I'm ready to share. So now they're hungry to dive into the word because they want to share their experiences with the world, I guess. And so things like that. And so the church is engaging with that, understanding the language, the culture of young people today. Social media is a big part. I'll say social media is giving us a huge win as believers in general, raising up the next leaders. You know, you mentioned that in an email earlier about raising up the next leaders too. Think about it,
Mhm.
like a lot of these students or young people now, how many podcasts are out there now by young people, right?
Right.
And they're doing things a little different. I think about even worship music today, people like Elevation Rhythm, Southeastern Worship, like these people, their worship looks different today, right? Because we're trying to find a way to cultivate it where students are gonna get into it. I feel like every fast song now that I hear in youth worship, there's always a hey, hey, like they're jumping. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
we're finding ways creatively to weave in God into the things that these students are already seeing. And so social media again for us, dude, I think that's a big one. I remember a mentor, well, he's a friend, but I'll say a mentor because I've learned stuff from him without him even really intending to pour into my life. But I remember this guy. He did a lot of study on. His name's Terry Parkman. Actually, he lived in Minnesota,
Mhm.
and so he did a lot of study on generations. He was big on, hey, the next generation is going to be Generation Z. Here's some of the things that they'll love more than millennials. You know, here's some of the things they'll struggle with more than millennials. And I'll never forget when he saw studies coming out leading into what Gen Z was going to become. He saw the numbers showing students were asking for Christmas more YouTube channels than they were gifts. Like they were because students were wanting to produce. And so we started to see Generation Z's language or their culture happening even at Christmas. Mom, could I have a YouTube channel? Right? I don't even need a car. I don't even need a toy because they saw the impact social media had. And so students wanted their voice to be heard. And so when I hear that, I'm like, wow, there's a big thing with social media. How do we win with that? How do we integrate, biblical things, youth, church, God into this world that they love so much that they live in? And also we're starting to see with these students are now producers. Like
Yeah.
they want to produce, they want to create, they want to dream. And so back to that, these students want to dream and create. Hey, student, let me give you this segment. Let's talk. Make it your own. Here's
Mhm.
another one we do. We call it the most interesting interview ever. Sometimes we'll do this one maybe once every 2 months. And so we gave this to a student who we know who's a very funny student. He could walk in a room, make everybody laugh. So the most interesting interview ever is him. It's almost like the hot ones challenge. So it's him and another student sitting across the table on stage. We may say one day we may have like a meal from Zaxby's. He's hosting the show, and the student in front of them, they have to finish this meal within 2 minutes while answering all these questions, right? And he's, hey, tell me a little bit about yourself. And maybe he'll integrate some funny things in there, but he's taking ownership of this segment in youth and he's made it his own. And so we see students love social media, they love to create, they love to dream, they want to produce ideas, they want their voices to be heard. And so I'm trying to figure out for us, how do we create things in this youth ministry that cater to that, not allow them to have full control because we could still reel in, things to keep it in the boundary, but how do we give them wins, to benefit our entire church? And so now, even in our church services, bro, there are sometimes we'll have a moment where we could do let's talk up front with the students. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool, man. They bought into what we're doing back here with the students. And so when the church buys into what we affirm, that's a win for everybody right now. So dreaming, creative, their voice, producing, um, that's their language right now, bro. And so we want to cater to that and not change the way we do youth ministry. We want to evolve the way we do youth ministry. So,
I think that's dope, man. Something that I always preach to our churches when it comes down to Christianity, you want to be um stubborn about the goal,
mhm.
but I forgot exactly how I saw this quote somewhere, but for lack of better words, it's like you want to be stubborn about the goal, but you want to be flexible about the method, right?
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, so that's
Mm,
exactly what you guys are doing. Like y'all stubborn about the goal, which is to lead people to Christ, but you're
yep.
flexible on how you're doing that. So
Hmm.
I like that, man. So with everything that you guys are doing, how can parents and mentors come alongside youth ministry to help this vision move forward?
Bro, every time I think of parents right now, I just laugh about it because the first few years, maybe the first year or two, dude, parents were a struggle. And so when I came into youth ministry, I was already a young adult. And so for me, I already sensed, okay, like I've got some authority as a youth leader, and even more now as a youth pastor coming in year one and year two. Uh, but here's the thing where you're talking about grace and being at the home church where I kind of grew up at, they always saw me as Corey. Like that's just little Corey again. And so for me, that stigma, I think it didn't hurt me. It helped me a lot, but it stuck with me for a while before I was able to settle into my own like adulthood. And so, when you're giving parents directions and things, it's like, oh, that's just Corey. I'm like, no, I'm youth pastor here. Like I have a responsibility, right? That's my job now. And so I always had an issue year one and two trying to like bridge the gap with parents. It was just frustrating for me because again, I was looking so far into I'm in charge now, as opposed to that's going to be the best bridge you could ever build in a student ministry. And so for us now, parents are the heroes. They are the absolute heroes. The only thing I want, well, not only thing, the main thing I want from a parent is for them to have confidence in us. Like I think about that over these 9 years, we've only gotten to this point because parents have confidence in us now. The work speaks for itself, right? They can't deny, what we're doing isn't working. They can't say this because they're students, they're
You're
byproducts
going
of
you're
it.
going out just a little bit, brother.
All right. What'd you last hear me say?
You said the work speaks for itself, and then after that, it was kind of going in and out.
Okay. Yeah. So again, parents can't deny, right,
Mhm.
that they can't say we're not doing a good job because their homes are byproducts of what we're doing. Like their students are byproducts of that. And so I say they're the heroes because I only want them to have confidence in what we're doing. So the way that works, I have some young youth pastor friends coming up, and they've called me and always want some feedback. It's so funny that I'm the guy they're calling now because I still feel like I'm a young guy. I feel like I still got so much to learn, bro. But I tell them without a doubt, the first thing y'all need to do is make sure you integrate parents. You have got to
Mhm.
stay informed with parents. And there's sometimes I'll drop the ball on that because we've gotten in such a routine of, oh yeah, parents understand what we're doing, but understand the importance of it now. And
Mhm.
sometimes so many parents will always want to be involved with certain things where you don't want to kill the dynamics of your youth leadership team just
Mhm.
because parents want to be back there. So we try to give parents the understanding that here's the team that you've given confidence to, and we've built this team. They're pouring into your students, they're investing into them. But you have some parents that still want to be involved highly. So we'll try to find ways to maneuver them around. Hey, we've got two events coming up. Could we have a house party at your house? Because they want an insight to what's happening in the youth group anyway. Well, here's the 2020 vision right here. You're going to see what's happening because it's at your house, right? And now that kind of helps them to feel like settled for a couple months. Oh man, they've given me a role, responsibility. hey, we're having a get together in the cafe this Wednesday. Could y'all supply like a fruit tray? And so they feel like they're contributing in a way. And so for me, parents, leaders, all those things being involved is for one, oh gosh, I don't know how I forgot this. Accountability, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the accountability for you, it keeps you on your P's and Q's. Parents are going to give you a perspective that you don't know, especially if you are a single youth pastor, um, or if you're just a really young youth pastor, or a youth pastor with no kids, or or even an older youth pastor. I would say they're going to give you parents are going to give you perspective you don't have, because they've been seasoned. Because if their kids are in your youth group, then they've at least been parents for 12 years, right? At the most or the least. So they got perspective there that you don't know, right? They're taking home what you're working on. And so if you want what you're working on here in the student ministry to come to that end goal, you're gonna have to partner with these parents. You're gonna have to work with them, because what happens at home, they're investing in that even more, right? Some sadly are hindering what you're working on. So you got to put in double the work when they come back next Wednesday. So that's why it's so important, bro, to have parents involved, have parents part of what you're doing, and creating ways for them to feel like you value them, not just, hey, we're here for your kids. One of my mentors, longtime mentors, every time he sees me, man, he's always saying, Corey, you're making generational impact. And that means so much to me, bro. Every time I hear it, it means more, because I see more and more how it's impacting the next generation. But he would always tell me, Corey, I just want you to understand, you're my youth pastor. Like, my kids are long gone out of youth, but when I invite people to church, I'll invite them and say, hey, that's so and so. He's our young adults pastor. That's so and so. He's our worship pastor. That's Corey right there. That's our youth pastor. And so when he's using that language of that's our, like, you're mine, he says, Corey, you're those parents and adults youth pastor too. So pastor them as you do your students. And so that's what we think, bro. With the students today, we like to pastor their families. And so the things
Mm.
that we teach students, I have to tell myself, man, am I willing to share this with an adult? Am I willing to share this with their parents? Am I willing to talk the same way I'm preaching to a student? Would I preach in the same context to their parents, or would I change it? No, you know what? They need to hear something that their whole house can chew on. And so parents are key, bro. They're very important, and I'm thankful for them. A lot of times I've seen youth groups try to have the young people be leaders. Nothing wrong with that. We've created a whole pyramid now where we've implemented young people, some who are phasing out of youth, um, who are not going to go to big church, and the ones that we still see the Lord's got some type of involvement in their life, some type of impact, or their gifts and talents. We'll allow certain ones to serve on our junior staff. So it's me and Laura top. We got our youth staff or our adult leadership, and then our junior staff. Those are the ones who may have just graduated. And not everybody gets that privilege, because we don't want to stack up people back here just to be hanging out, and then student leaders under there. But I see a lot of people trying to bring in the young people to be leaders, and I'll tell these young youth pastors, bro, your adults and parents, they're going to be the ones who have seen life, who have experienced the world, and they're going to have accountability and discipline to teach students something that these young kids can't. And most importantly, bro, they're financially stable. They're going to support what you need. You got a kid want to go to camp, so and so is going to pay for it because they got bread. These 17, 18-year olds just graduated high school, bro. Put them in a position where you could disciple them and still use them and help them develop. But don't count out these adults and parents, bro. They are the bread and butter to a real healthy youth ministry and church.
Man, that's outstanding. Hearing you say that about the parents, some parents wanting to be involved too much, it
Hmm.
just made me think that everybody has some level of issues where
Yep.
that particular area is concerned. Because you got, in your case, you got some parents that want to be overly involved. They want to be involved
Yeah.
too much. But then there
Helicopters.
are right. And then you got uh other churches where parents aren't helping at all.
Yeah.
Don't even want to be involved. Don't even want to, like, that the youth ministry staff is suffering. Like, they only got
Yeah.
5 committed people, and you don't even want to sign up to serve, but you see
Yeah.
your child back there every Sunday, every
Yeah.
Wednesday, or whatever, right?
Hey, and be
So
having the nerve to complain. I'm like, you can help.
have the nerve to complain. And you're exactly right. Like you getting it up. Like y'all should do this. Y'all should do this.
Yeah.
Well, if we had more people like yourself,
Yeah. That's
you
it.
know, and I'll throw this out there because I know you can't say this, but I'll say it. They bringing like 5 kids back there, right? And you can't give us one Sunday.
Bro, man, dude, hey, we literally were talking about that in the nursery because our nursery is blowing up right now, bro, with like the toddlers. And our children's pastor's been saying that he's like, man, we've got to get some of these parents dropping them off like 2, 3 Sundays a year, man, because some of these guys they got to help us out.
Yeah, so it's like, hey, listen,
Yeah,
do your youth leaders a favor, help your youth ministry out, sign up,
yeah.
volunteer one Sunday a month, or maybe every other month. Something and I still say this to this day, and even when I was in youth ministry, first of all, my first ministry assignment, man, as a youth pastor, that was like my first ministry assignment, bro. It was like borderline a cakewalk. I
Oh
had like
wow.
a magnificent team.
Come
Like
on.
I used to tell people all the time, like, bro, I'm literally just like I got one finger on the steering wheel, like driving this thing. Cause
Hey, let's go.
like the team was amazing, bro.
Come
And,
on.
and we went through our seasons where we didn't have as many volunteers, but the ones I had, 10 or however many they were committed. Um, and so, but even when I was youth pastor then, I would say, hey, we need to get enough people signed up to volunteer. Because if we get enough volunteer, they can rotate Sundays, and that may only be serving like
Hmm.
once every other month. And
Yeah,
so I
that's it.
think it's important for the people to hear that hey, if your youth ministry is lacking or suffering where volunteers are concerned, go sign up. And if you get enough people to
Hmm.
sign up once every other month, right?
That's
But
it, bro.
and it gives some of your committed, because let's just be honest, sometimes youth leaders, like adults especially, sometimes they
Yeah.
want to go in big church and hear the pastor preach, right?
Yeah.
So, let's give them that, so
Yeah.
parents, y'all sign up, parents.
Let's
uh
go.
I ask you a couple more questions, bro, and we'll wrap up. I know you're a busy
Yes,
man,
sir.
so I don't want to hold you long. um what are some misconceptions about youth ministry?
Mm. I think people think they're just back there having fun, you know, because
Mhm.
it's young people. People think in big church, like it's almost as if only the spirit of God can move in that climate, right? And that in that space, because it's such a even the design of sanctuaries, right, looks holy and looks sacred. But back
Mhm.
here, there's lights, right? There's colors, there's a bunch of loud instruments. And so it's almost like it's just a safe place to be at church, not so much where God's doing a work. And so that's a false misconception, obviously, or that's not even true. If anything, man, it's the young people today, I think, that are even igniting churches, because some of our adults could be so stagnant and just attend to check their box off. But when you look at revival movements and you start to see how they work in youth groups or churches, like there's a passion in young people, bro, that you're not seeing on a Sunday, right? You're seeing it on a Wednesday or a Thursday or a Sunday night, or whenever, like you said, whenever groups meet. But you're seeing a passion in students that, not that it can't translate to big church, but it's happening only here, right? In the youth ministry because that's where they see God doing the work. And so maybe youth camps, you see those things as well. You see where there's a passion, a desire like never before in those climates because there's so many young people like faith sharing that. But I think that misconception is God's not moving back there. They're just having a good time. They're having fun. But dude, I love vouching for the students. I do love vouching for them. I love sharing what God is doing. I love texting a parent and saying, "Hey, um, me and this other leaders pray for so and so tonight. Pray for your boy tonight." And just so you know, here's some of the things that they mention to us in case you don't know how to move forward at home. Some things you may not even know about. And so, we try to give parents an outlet of what's happening. And when we have moments, like a Sunday service for the youth to take over, I'm all about showcasing what God's been doing over the past 5 or 6 months because I want them to see, wow, like my kids up there actually praying after worship, right? or we'll do this thing in September called Students in September. So usually there's at least 4 weeks in September. And every Wednesday, we give a student a chance to preach the message. And most of them are going to be real short because, in their mind, they've been writing for 5 minutes and they feel like it's an hour. But
Right.
we give a student an opportunity in September to preach. And so I want parents to see that, hey, we've seen something in this student. We're trying to do our job to call it out. Now, we don't expect them to get up here and be I don't even know, a TD Jakes, right? We're not expecting them to get up here and preach the word with such longevity and such context, or a Robert Purdue who's just going, man, they got it all. Craig Groeschel, they got it all figured out. We know that this is going to be the shortest message they've ever shared in their life, and it's going to mostly be their testimony. But we're trying to set platforms where they can continue to grow and build on that. And so I want parents to see that, hey, just so you know, your boy's preaching in 2 weeks, right? Just so you know, your girl's going to be giving a devotion in 4 weeks. And also in that season of September, we let students kind of run things. So most of the students are in the media booth doing the work. Students are giving the announcement. Students are helping in the family time small group. Their leaders are there to assist, but the students are leading it this week or that month. And so we try to create an environment where parents also get to see, man, that's a misconception that God ain't really doing a whole lot because, again, your home is the byproduct of what's happening in this student ministry. And so if your home's on fire for God right now, the youth ministry's got a lot to do with that. So
I like it, man. I like that. Students in September, man.
yes, sir.
Um, One last question for you, and I'm gonna go off script with this one.
Yes, sir.
What advice would you give to that new youth pastor that's struggling? Maybe they're
Mm,
6 months in, maybe it's a year in, and they're struggling with being a youth pastor. They're feeling unworthy of the call. They're questioning whether or not God actually called them, and they're just dealing with a mountain of frustrations. What
mm.
advice would you give that person?
I I'll say this. This was a we had a leaders meeting. This was a long time ago, but this one stood out to me. We were reading a book together, and I remember sharing this part with some of our youth leaders. I would tell this person, first of all, it's completely normal, like the way you feel right now. So don't even think like so much of this pressure is on me. I'm in the wrong, especially if you're 6 months in, even a year in, bro. Like those hardships, you're gonna feel those again because we're embracing spiritual warfare right now, bro. The moment we stepped into this thing, right, the enemy's already aware and he's trying to take you out of the game because you're impacting 50, 60, 70 people in a church, which in turn impact 400, 500 people in the sanctuary. And so much more the community. So if he could take you out of the game, he's done by and large, took out a community, of people or a circle of people, your school. But I'll say this, when it comes to youth ministry, some things don't change. They just don't. You're always gonna have loud music, like because that's the culture of young people. You're always gonna have issues. Like there's always gonna be drama or something. Like I remember I used to always think, man, could we just go like a month without an issue? Like, but that's the spiritual warfare. So you're always gonna have loud music. You're always gonna have an issue to deal with. And this one's tricky though. You're always gonna want to quit. Like it's just gonna feel that way, bro, because again, what you're fighting for is so much more important than what it's costing you. It's so much more valuable than what it's costing you. And if that's your time it's costing you, right? Generational impact is more valuable than the time it's costing you. It's more valuable than um your agenda because again, this eternal is kingdom work. And so I have to remind myself, I joke because my wife has her master's in counseling, and I always joke with the students. I'm like, y'all, every Wednesday night I talk Laura's ear off because I'm quitting every week, right? Because I'm like, oh man, I shouldn't have done that week. I shouldn't have done that last night, man. I shouldn't have said that, man. That message wasn't that good. And they've learned now, how I joke about that. I'm not leaving unless the Lord orders our steps, and that He hadn't done that yet. But I always feel that way because again, I'm hard on myself, but also I realize, man, the youth today, they're moving fast. Even like you're talking about J's, right? I got to get the next pair. And I'm like, man, did I hit the nail or did I miss it? Are they gonna remember this or are they on to the next thing? Did they care about this? But there's some things just aren't gonna change, bro. And so I would advise that person stay the course. again, like the verse I shared earlier, how scripture says, in his heart, a man plans his course. Hey, here's the plans I want to do, God. Here's some things. Here's this, here's that. But the Lord orders, He determines our steps. Like He leads us where we're supposed to be. And so staying the course isn't easy, bro. Jesus said it's that narrow way, right? And it leads to life. That's tough to do when you've got, all right, here's the narrow way, when you got spiritual warfare, right? When you
Mhm.
got drama at school with your kids, right? When you got financial crisis, when you actually are burned out because you've put in so much time at all these different things, and you're like, Lord, you want me to stay the course, to enter this and to walk this narrow way? Man,
Mhm.
this is the wide way. Everybody's going here. It's easy to complain. It's easy to just make a mistake and ask God to forgive me, right? But stay in that course, bro. It's the fruit is so rewarding when you see it. Again, like I said, the makings of a great person, I think in the eyes of kingdom work is, you can't deny longevity, right? You can't deny the character speaks for itself, longevity speaks for itself, and the fruit speaks for itself. And so if
Mhm.
you could stay the narrow course, um, the warfare is there, but stay in that course that leads to life, right? The fruit that comes from it, there's benefits there. There are mentors that see that. There are friends who see that and say, "Wow, man, you're encouraging me because you're staying the course, and I know all the things you got going on." And
Mhm.
so, but having a mentor out and outside track on that, having a mentor or mentors is a huge benefit. I
Mhm.
have a friend who's actually a missionary to, I'll just say undisclosed country, but they're spending some time here right now, resetting. And he's somebody that I confide in about everything, every detail of ministry. Some things that I won't even tell my wife because I don't want to burden her with some things that she doesn't need to be spiritually. But I'll tell this guy just about everything that I need his prayers and advice and leadership in. And I could be vulnerable. I could be that. That's one of the things, bro. Some people don't do that. That example you just gave, some people can't be that vulnerable and say, man, I'm tired, I'm broken. They feel they got to have it together. But I got that mentor or mentors in my life where I just had lunch with somebody um, Tuesday. I just sat straight up, told him, hey, man, I'm struggling right now, bro. We're in the season of summer and I've got some situations going on with these families, or I got some situations going on, personally that I need some guidance on. I'm about to get burned out of these personal things. But being able to even voice that and hear his guidance and wisdom, yeah, I mean, that might just be the fuel I need to keep going. So staying the course is one of the most important things I'll say. Just don't quit, bro.
Yeah, don't quit. That's awesome, bro. Well, man, I certainly appreciate your time, sir. I appreciate
For
you
sure.
coming on today, man, and just sharing your wisdom and your knowledge, man. Continue to do the great things that God has called you to
Amen.
do, you and your wife, man, and may God continue to bless you and your family and the First Assembly family as well. We want to say a special thank you to all the viewers out there. We thank you guys so much for joining us. This has been another episode of Prayers in Progress. I pray that the Lord continues to bless you and keep you. And again, let's say
Sure.
thank you to Mr. Cory Williams. Awesome job, sir. Until
My
next
brother.
time, y'all be blessed.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, my guy.